You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
This is Melanie, and in the future, the government will make us all a little safer when they rip off Fallout and release an injectable serum to counteract radiation called X-Rad.
This is Randy, and in the future, those with peanut allergies will be the first to fall in the great GIF wars.
This is Jesse. In the future, you will unlock a door. You will unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound, a dimension of sight, a dimension of mind. You'll move into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You'll cross over into the Grawlix zone.
Wow, that was like that was like a future prediction and a movie quote all in one.
Yeah.
We could just reuse that at the end.
And it's a callback. And it's a callback to our pre-show. So Patreon members, you're welcome.
Oh man, we had a great pre-show.
We did. It was a big one. Almost an hour. Almost.
All right, welcome to the Grawlix podcast, episode number 77.
Yes.
Yeah.
Luckies.
Lucky 70s. Sevens.
Slevin.
Lucky sevens.
Lucky number 11? Melanie loves that movie.
I do like it.
Yeah. Hey, listener, we're going to do something a little bit different this month. Yeah, because it's Halloween month, right?
Yeah, it's October.
It is Halloween month.
So we're going to switch our two episodes that don't really have anything to do with Halloween around. This month, we're going to do our poll list episode first. So that'll be this episode. You know what the episode's about. You've seen the episode title already. And then next episode, we'll do our usual more freeform featured topic type episode.
Because we need some freeform for the Halloweens.
Yep. Yeah. I like that you had some attitude with that.
Thank you.
Will some of our people have already heard it because we did it live?
Oh my gosh. You're absolutely right. If you've listened to, but when this episode goes up, if you listen to yesterday's special International Podcast Day live stream of the Grawlix podcast that we did on the Electronic Media Collective Facebook page, you've already heard next episode.
But we're still going to have an extra special Halloween
Of course.
treat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that exactly. Wow. This month's all kinds of crazy and mishmashed and
Jam-packed, full of fun.
yeah.
More fun than you can fit in a regular dimension. This is the Grawlix zone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh no. Now I'm gonna have to fit the Grawlix theme song into a Twilight Zone sounding song.
Do
Yes.
it.
That'll be a great theme.
So what Melanie was getting at was, I'm pretty sure we mentioned it before,
Yep.
but since it's actually October, it's actually coming now. So this month, our first episode is this one, the poll list. Then we're gonna do our second episode, the properly edited version of the live podcast day episode that me and Jesse recorded.
Yes.
Maybe we'll have a guest. Maybe we won't.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Knows.
Well, you know if you go to Electronic Media Collective on Facebook. And then there's going to be a third Grawlix because it's October.
It's the greatest month of the year.
So the Monday before Halloween, it's like going to be like 2 days before Halloween. Halloween's on a Wednesday. Mm-hmm. We're going to drop our 2018 Grawlix Halloween special. Now, last year we did our Swamp Thing audio drama adaptation of the first Swamp Thing story.
Yep.
We're gonna do something a little bit different this year. We're gonna play a game. Do you want to play? We've had this conversation.
Yeah, we did.
Last month we promoted it exactly the same way.
We made the Saw reference. We made the War Game reference. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna play a tabletop game, and it's going to be
Amazing.
what is it? You're all gonna die, or everyone's gonna die, which is a kind of a rules light, and I'm gonna really push it to more of a collaborative storytelling thing. So occasionally I'll be like, hey players, So this thing happened, or you see this thing. Hey, Melanie, what's it look like? What's this look like to you?
Okay.
So I'm going to try to...
A little bit of telephone game thrown in there just to make it interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to try to, make it interesting. But it'll be a horror tabletop game in which all the players are going to die, except for one.
Yep, the virgin.
But,
No.
I
don't know.
It'd be the final... It wouldn't necessarily be a girl, but it'd be the final girl. Yeah.
Yeah. And she doesn't necessarily have to be a she or a virgin.
Ooh, so is that how we should do it? Like, we'll get everybody that's gonna play together and designate each of you. Well, no, because then I couldn't designate a virgin because then
people would know that
that's the person that dies.
Yeah.
But how this game? This is a game that's it's 1 page, rules light RPG that some guy typed up back in 2005, I think, and Melanie come across it online. But it's on like the Live Journals page or whatever website. And that's where it originated. And it's such a good idea, but I can't find much else about it.
Yeah.
So we're going to base it off that. I might adapt a couple things.
And the spooky thing about it, ladies and gentlemen, is that the game is actually haunted. And people actually die. And that's why we're
for you guys.
Wait, is this good? Should we be doing this?
This is good.
Great.
It's not actually haunted. I don't know that.
From a haunted live journal.
I'm just already playing the telephone game. I'm already changing the rules.
He typed it up in 2005 and no one ever read again.
And that was the last thing he ever typed up on LiveJournal. Because nobody uses LiveJournal anymore.
And since then, LiveJournal is dead.
It became Dead Journal. And then nobody used it.
I think we'll be fine as long as we don't read from any ancient evil texts.
Too late.
That's where I'm getting my rules book.
Where do you think the setting came from?
Which edition of the Necronomicon is this?
I didn't say every single syllable, exactly perfectly. I got it, basically.
Basically, yeah, I said it.
I said the words.
So that's what's happening for Halloween.
Yeah. So all sorts of things.
What other in-house news we got going on?
Well, I mean, just kind of segueing off of our Facebook Live thing that we're going to do for Podcast Day, I recently did a Facebook Live about sports because that's what Grawlix listeners want more of. Sports.
That's our demographic.
Yeah, it is. I did it because there was a sports thing happening that night, and then it didn't happen. In Nebraska, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Football. There was a football game. The very first football game got rained out. Thunder, lightning, all the things. And so I thought, hey, this is prime time to do a thing about sports on our Facebook page. And so I had an my ill-advised live video about all my favorite sports movies. So it's basically a sports list show. Doesn't that sound fun? If it does, you can go find that at our Facebook page, which is just Facebook. Facebook.com/Grawlix podcast.
Yeah. I don't think it was an ill-advised. I think it was a great idea for a live video. And even though you're doing a thing about like a sports list movies, it was perfectly Grawlix. Like, if the Grawlix podcast is going to do anything with us about sports movies, that's what it would be. Nailed it. Because that's us, man.
I agree.
I mean, it's you. But
you are us.
I'm on. Well, you deemed the what did you say? The most popular or the greatest sports movie actor?
Oh yes. In the course of that video, I name the greatest sports movie actor of all time.
Melanie, who would you guess?
The greatest sports movie actor of all time.
Yeah.
O.J. Simpson.
What? I couldn't hear it.
O.J. Simpson. Yeah. Man, you should get up on him.
That would be pretty good too, because he's in the Naked Gun movies.
Yeah.
No, he doubles as the greatest regular film actor of all time. So Bill Murray, of course.
How many sports movies did we figure he's been in?
2.
It was like
He's been in at least 2 because he's
But
in.
you know what?
He's in Kingpin, which is a bowling movie, and he's been in Caddyshack. So, 3. Caddyshack because he's he hunts gophers. And
groundskeeper guy or whatever. Yeah.
And then he's in Space Jam.
Oh.
But
3.
sports movies.
Yep.
Great actor. Greatest sports movie actor.
Yeah. Boom.
That's
Done.
Okay, that works. That works for me.
So yeah, you're right. It is uniquely the Grawlix twist to
That's how
sports.
If we're gonna do any kind of sports thing, it would be like that. You nailed it, Jesse.
Well, and then I had this idea that I was going to do a couple more live videos to get us ready for the live video for International Podcast Day, and then I didn't because I got a really bad sinus infection, which I still have a little bit. So you probably can tell I'm a little nasally on this episode. So I apologize for that in advance, and that's also why I haven't done another live video since then. Because I was like, I'm going to get better at this, and then I got sick instead.
Then I got worse.
Yeah, way worse. You can at least understand me now, but for a few days there, it was pretty bad.
That's all right. I've been meaning. I have videos for the YouTube channel I need to do.
Oh, you've been updating that like crazy too. Like you uploaded the 4-year anniversary video.
Yeah, I've been trying to. A little part of it is a little bit of playing like catch up on the episodes because YouTube made me angry a while ago, so I stopped uploading our episodes. But I mean, since then, I think I've been asked a couple times, is the podcast on YouTube? Also, that horror movie recommendation video that we put up there like 4 years ago really took off recently, and our subscribers have doubled, and it's pretty much all from that video. So figured we should maybe I should start updating the channel more.
Right.
Sometime soon I will include another horror movie recommendation list with haunted house movies. Although the list is like morphed into something. I don't know. I guess it started with haunted house movies, but there's like Jesse recommended Evil Dead, and I think that still counts.
Because it's a cabin.
Exactly. But like, I don't know, it really made me think about haunted house movies, and I think traditionally it'd be like a ghost haunting. Like it's a haunting. But there's a lot of movies that seem like haunted houses that are like, I guess maybe it's a possession or something else, but I still think fit. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like technically the Evil Dead are outside of the cabin, but they get in there and they animate stuff, and it's totally a haunted house vibe throughout several parts of the movies. So,
Only the first one though. Or wait,
The first two.
But the second one's almost the first one over again.
It totally is the first one over again.
yeah.
Oh well, then yeah.
Yeah, it really is. It's like it's a remake, I guess.
So there's 3 remakes of it.
Yeah. Oh, we never watched that last season of Ash vs. the Evil Dead because we don't have stars, but we will sometime. It'll hit Netflix before.
Oh,
long.
it's on.
Good.
It's on either Hulu or Netflix. I don't know which one.
Ooh.
Is it?
I think so. I think
that's
both.
maybe that's what we should
I think
be
both
watching.
I think both seasons are up now. I could be wrong.
Oh, I think that there's a third season that's aired, and it's their final season.
Oh, yeah,
confirmed.
okay.
Like it's not coming back. Man, I like that second season a lot, except for the end. The end was crap, but it makes me nervous about the third season because part of what made the second season so good, I think, was we've talked about this before. One of the showrunners or whatever producers left the show because of disagreement with one of the original guys. Not Sam Raimi and not Bruce Campbell, the other one. Anyway, so moving on.
As we record this today, I want to give a shout out, and we did on the Facebook page, but it is Robert J. Sodaro's birthday today as we record this. So when you hear this, it will be a very belated birthday wish, but happy birthday. If you missed it, we interviewed Robert on one of our most recent Grawlix nights. Was that last month or the month before? And he's worked on a lot of things, Owlgirls, as well as editing for several books.
Yeah, he's worked on lots of stuff. Cyberines.
Yes, Cyberines
is one of the more recent series he's done. It's on. I mean, it should be a Grawlix Nights. It's just a regular Grawlix podcast, though. It's titled as Grawlix Podcast.
That's right.
73, I believe. I could be wrong, but I believe it's 73. Anyway, it'll say interview with Robert J. Sodaro. Yeah, you should check it out. And also look him up on Facebook. He's got a public Facebook page. If you don't mind some political posts, follow him there. If you find you're like-minded, you should enjoy his posts. Otherwise, look him up on Twitter. He's on there too at, I think it's funnybook_city, something like that.
Okay.
And yeah, he's a great guy. He's a nice guy.
So happy
Got
birthday.
happy birthday. He's got lots of stories.
He does have lots of stories. I'm still sitting on probably an episode's worth of stories that did not make it into the final interview. So
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
Eventually, when I have some downtime and I'm not watching endless amounts of Netflix, I'll do that.
Also, you're kind of running through like Grawlix Nights / interview guests that we've had recently. Pete Mitchell, who we interviewed way back when, was it almost 2 years ago now. That was one of my favorite interview episodes. He recently released an album with Bill Zappia. It's brand new, and it is of a lot of 80s cover songs that he is doing, and Bill Zappia is a very talented jazz pianist, and so they collaborated and they did this smooth jazz with like 80s pop tunes, and it's a really fun and eclectic blend, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think Randy, you listened to maybe a little bit of it. I've
did.
had it on repeat a couple times, so it's fun.
Sounds really good.
Yeah.
Their production is excellent. Like, it sounds good. And of course the writing. And I mean, even though it's covers, it's adapted to the jazz style, and it sounds like really good. You can tell they know what they're doing.
Maybe you should send them to me so I can hear them too.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, and they're on Spotify. So if you want to listen to the music, listeners, you can find it. It's Musings on Mars.
I like that title or that name, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's a direct reference to one of the covers, which is was it David Bowie's "Living on Mars"? So, or "Life on Mars." I'm probably getting it wrong, but yeah, another Grawlix super friend. Go check that out. A couple more things, and then we'll just get right into the episode. Some Patreon stuff. Listener and friend of the show, Carl D. Smith, is on Patreon now. Yeah, I think I've referenced Carl's work on the show before, especially when it comes to Okamicon. I'm certain that we've talked about his work before. He does a lot of different writing projects, and one of them in particular that tickles my fancy is the Draw Your Own Adventure books, which he does. It's basically a story, and there's some illustrations throughout, but basically that's the point of the book, is that you get to create the illustrations for the book. So you get to envision what's actually happening. And two of the three feature his character, Bigfoot Jones. The first one is Bigfoot Jones, quarterback. The third one is Bigfoot Jones, hero. And then there's one in the middle that is like Little Patty, vampire. And there are a lot
of Draw your own adventure.
Draw your own adventure.
That's a brilliant idea. I love it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, me too.
Well, and also something that maybe is even more in our wheelhouse here is that currently he just launched his Patreon, but on the Patreon he is kicking off with Play Your Own Adventure is his next book that he's doing. So he's creating like a RPG system, and he's starting with game books, kind of like the old Choose Your Own Adventure style book, but you actually create a character and then choose your own adventure with that character. So it's a game. It's a Choose Your Own Adventure / game book. And so he's kind of test running that right now. And all of his first week, which is basically creating a character, that's all on Patreon for free for the public. So you can go check that out whether you're a patron or not. And then now he's starting up with the patron content where you'll actually get to, after you've created your character, you can play the character. So he's kind of play testing his projects right there on Patreon, which is a cool idea. Very active.
Cool. Yeah.
So check that out. It's I think it's patreon.com/Carl D. Smith.
Go right to the URL. Speaking of going right to the URL, if you want to check us out,
right,
patreon.com/Grawlix podcast. Don't search us. Just go straight to the URL.
Just go right to the URL. Yeah.
Yep.
And I wanted to point out that, hey, since we've got some puppet enthusiasts, we're over halfway to our first goal. It just kind of happened. Just like, boom. Oh, we're over halfway to our first goal. So if we can get a few more Patreon, a few more people to check us out, if you'd like to support us and what we do, if you do, you'll unlock tons of extra content. And if we get to that first goal, that is a commentary track for Swamp Thing. And you know you want us to do that.
Yes, Swamp Thing, the live action. We have to start with the first one.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I know Return of the Swamp Thing is the goofy one, but we got to start with the first one.
Yeah.
Wes Craven directed live action Swamp Thing. Ooh, come on, guys, get us there soon, because that'd be a great thing to drop around the time that the live action Swamp Thing TV show starts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
I didn't even know we had goals. I'm
Well, we're adults, and adults set goals, and that's why we produce adult content.
yeah.
We're goal oriented, Melanie.
Okay, good to know. Thanks.
No, we do. On Patreon, we have goals set for every the first goal is $20 a month. Right now, we're sitting with our patrons, our wonderful patrons that we appreciate very much.
Yes.
We're sitting at about $12 a month that they donate to us, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And so our first goal is at $20, and that'll cover our hosting. That is one less thing we have to worry about. Not our website hosting, but our file hosting for podcast episodes. That's why I set it at 20. See, transparency.
Yep.
That's what it's going to go to, just so you know.
Then we won't have to pay as much for our phone pocket.
Yep. I mean, as it is, the 12 a month now is very helpful. Like every other month, then our patrons cover the hosting. That's great.
Yeah.
But if we hit 20 a month, that's our first goal, is the Swamp Thing. And then we have different goals set up after that I think go up to fairly unrealistic levels. Like, I think the top goal is at $500 a month. That's probably not going to happen. But
what do we do then?
I don't remember.
I'm sure it was awesome, though, because for $500 a month, I think we could do something awesome.
I mean, some of the goals are stuff like produce a video game series that I've kind of been wanting to do for a while about comic book video games.
Oh, yeah.
Like a YouTube series and stuff.
You kind of did that anyways with your Let's Plays. But this would be legit. This would be like this is happening on such and such a time.
Exactly. I'd have monetary motivation, but also do more commentary stuff for a Doctor Who adventure, for the worst comic book movie of all time, as chosen by patrons.
Oh yes,
that's
right.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to do that. We need to meet some goals, guys.
Some barbed wire, Spawn, or the old Captain America movies or something.
Yeah. Cool.
Or
that old
Suicide
Captain
Squad.
America.
Who knows? I've never seen it, but I've seen so many YouTube videos about it.
I sought it out because I loved Captain America, and it's bad. It's not good.
The rubber ears, man. Why?
Maybe he didn't have real ears.
The actor himself didn't have real ears.
Didn't have any ears.
They're like, it just doesn't look right without ears.
Maybe it was just a weird farm accident when he was a child. I mean, we don't know.
It's true. There's a lot about Steve Rogers. Could be a side effect of his
Captain Mid-America.
Yeah. Where is Captain America from?
He's from the Bronx, right?
Oh.
Grew up in the Bronx. That comes into play in the new Civil War, whatever.
All right.
Let's get to it.
What else we got? Is that it?
Yeah, I think that covers our in-house news for this episode. Yes.
All right. So normally our next segment we do later in the month, but it's Halloween. Everything's spooky.
Everything's spooky.
So we're gonna mix it up. It's mysterious too. So that's it. That's the mystery. We're gonna do the pull list review this episode. Hey, I feel bad. I always pick on you for doing it, Melanie. So the pull list.
Yeah.
The pull list is a poll on our website. You can go vote on it. Vote on what we read and review. So hit up grawlixpodcast.com. You'll be able to find the pull list from there. You can suggest new books or vote on books that are already there. And each month, the one with the most votes, we pick it, we read it, and then we review it next month.
Yeah.
That was... Man, I should just keep picking on you so you can spit it out because you do it way better than I do anymore.
Nah, you don't know what you're saying.
What? I don't know what I'm saying. Well, that's the problem.
Yeah. So, what did we pull off the poll list last month?
Well, this one's kind of special.
Yeah. Well, when we put it on the list 2 months ago, and it just boom went right to the top. We added Blacksad, which is published by Dark Horse Comics, and we did that in honor of Patrick's dad from Make Dad Read Comics, who recently passed away this summer. And on Patrick's final episode, he shouted out I think it was 2 different books, and so I just added Blacksad to the poll list in honor of Patrick's dad. And boom, like the next month, apparently that really resonated with people because it quickly shot to the top.
It was one of the few books that his dad recommended people read, because the whole premise of the show was his dad was not a comic book reader. And so the idea was, he'd have his dad read comics and they'd discuss it, because Patrick's a big comic book fan. And of the many, many, many books they covered, this was one of the very few ones I think he was very on board with.
I went back. I think it's episode 14 of Make Dad Read Comics. I went back and I listened to the episode for the book that we are going to cover today. And yeah, he gushes about it. In fact, that's pretty early on in the premise of the show. And so he's still pretty down on comics. He kind of doesn't even call it a comic towards the end. He's just like, I just call this a book.
That's funny.
So, that's how enamored he was with it. He's like, and I think we'll get into some of that, but yeah, he really liked it. And I think at that point in the show, he still wasn't down with comic books, but he was really down with this. So
I want to jump into it, but first we have to find out what we're going to read next time.
Fair enough.
We do have to find out what we're going to read next time.
All right. What we will be reading for the month of November, just barely in the number 1 spot, is East of West is our winner.
Oh yeah.
It's good. It's good.
We have a tie for second place. So folks, get over to the poll list and break up that tie. Tied for second place is G.I. Joe, the old Marvel classic run, and Chew.
Oh, Chew. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Chew and East of West, I know, are 2 books that I know Melanie would be excited about.
Yes.
You like those a lot.
I do.
And I've watched those slowly. Not so slowly. They haven't been on the list that long, but I've watched them slowly rise. I didn't even know G.I. Joe was on there.
Oh, yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't know any of them were.
We mentioned that a ways back because it was ironic that we had all these Marvel books on there, and then somebody added G.I. Joe, and they specifically pointed out the Marvel, the Marvel classic part.
Right.
It was like, there's a lot of G.I. Joe now, but of course it's the Marvel run.
You're right.
Which is fine. I mean, that is the classic run. That's the Larry Hamas run, and it's notable, but it was funny because it was another Marvel book. For a while there, it was just Marvel.
Well, whoever added that, I have a finger for you. No, I'm just...
And on that note, Blacksad.
Melanie, do you want to read these names?
Yeah, sure. Hand me them over.
Okay, it's written by Juan Diaz, and then it's Juan Diaz Canales. And it is illustrated by Juanjo
Guarnido.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looks like to me, at least.
With lettering by Studio Cutie.
A Studio Cutie?
I guess.
Well, they could have at least given her name.
Yeah, it could be unpaid intern. They just didn't want to name them. Our Studio Cuties, the interns. We love them. We love those Studio Cuties.
Okay. Yeah, Blacksad.
Blacksad's interesting because it's like the creative team. They're Spanish, but I believe they marketed this over to French and European comic audiences, and so we're getting a couple steps removed. This is the English translation for something that was released over in Europe.
And it's interesting because it's very much an American story.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very American-centric.
I think it's set in America, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Noir.
Yeah, and it's very noir, detective noir. It's not a film, but like film noir. I'm not for sure where the first story takes place, but that seemed like Hollywood, right? Like that had to be Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside of Make Dad Read Comics, I'd never heard of this. Like I didn't know anything about it going into it. This is actually a little tricky to find. At most of the places that we link to as affiliate links on the website, it's out of print. So like it's a little tricky to track down a hard copy. I'm sure you could probably find it on Amazon or eBay or something, but it's a little tricky to track down.
My copy was Comixology, so you can get it for Kindle, and you can get it for Comixology fairly easily. But yeah, I don't know about it getting it in print.
And the publication, since it was for another market and then brought over here under another publisher, it's distributed by each volume. Mm-hmm. But over here, it's just Blacksad from it's published by Dark Horse. And what they publish or what they sell is just Blacksad is actually the first 3 volumes of Blacksad.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Elsewhere, it's actually given each volume is like its own name and, Blacksad, whatever, the chapter title.
Right. Are there only the 3 ever?
I think there's
more.
2
other, they're collected in what's called like an album, which I don't know if that would be like an omnibus or what, but, so this would be the first album. It kind of like, how TV series and TV season, so this would be the first album. There's 2 other albums. So there's 3 trades or three books total.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we're reading what would be the first one.
So you're probably looking at almost 9 stories, maybe, if it's about the same length.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess so. This one contains 3. Yeah.
Yeah. 3 definite cases or stories, whatever.
Yeah.
3 arcs, kind of. Yeah, I like this though. I like this a lot.
Yeah, it was good.
Kind of digging into what it is, we hinted at the fact that it's kind of crime noir. It centers around the central character of John Blacksad, and all the characters are some form of anthropomorphic animal, and so our lead character is this black cat for the most part. I mean, he's got like a little bit of white around his nose,
muzzle,
like on his snout, and that plays in on one of the cases later on in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's a very, I don't know, how would you describe the style here? Because like when I say anthropomorphic animal, I don't mean like Snoopy walking around on 2 feet. I mean like he's mostly humanoid, but with like a cat head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's most of the characters they're very human shaped, human proportion. That's one thing I was super impressed with in the art. We'll get to the art later. I'm sure we'll talk about that a lot. I was impressed with how well most of the animal heads like were fit to human bodies, like how well it worked proportionally. But anyway, so they look like humans except they have animal heads. For the most part, they have human bodies. Sometimes they might have some type of animal trait, like what would be a fur patch on the chest, which kind of becomes a plot point. One of them had a tail, and the gorilla looked very much like a gorilla still.
Yeah.
But, I mean, gorillas are kind of human-shaped anyway. But they're also, like, they're skin-colored like fur, but when they're naked, because you see a few of them naked, or their hands, they don't look like they're furry.
No.
It looks smooth like skin, but it's still fur-colored. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
And you don't really think about it unless you think about it, kind of thing. Like it's not jarring in any real way, I don't think.
No, it looks good. And other than the fact that they're animals, it's very realistically, from a character design and stuff, it's very realistically rendered. Again, proportionally, it looks like normal size humans. It's not like big animal heads on like little cartoon human bodies or anything.
And I think mostly the animal characters are there to convey certain characteristics of each of the characters. That's why they're animals, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right about that.
Yeah, the decision to go animals is interesting because while it does kind of come up once in a while, it's really not that big of a deal. Like the story they could be people.
Yeah.
And they'd be exactly the same.
Right.
It's an interesting choice then to go with animals.
Yeah, but like the lizard and the rat, they're both kind of like, sneaky, untrustworthy people that you would think people sometimes think of mice or like rats and lizards.
Well, and Blacksad even mentions like some things are still instinctual. Like he comes across this rat character that he just does not like.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm a cat after all. But in the second story, when they get into like, it's very much about race. There's a lot of racial divide comes into it. It's not among the animal species. It's among the color of their skin or their fur. And I thought that was weird. So you have established that there's these different species, but when race comes into it, it's still about the color of their fur. So you've got different species, but if they're white, they're white,
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you look at the way people are, say a species would be representative, or I mean, the animal species is representative of the country you're from. We still don't care what country you're from. If you're a racist, you're still going to think that all the white people from those countries are the good people.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. We don't have to get into a huge plot synopsis. The theme of each story is fairly basic. So we could probably touch on each one. The first one is a pretty good introduction to the character without necessarily feeling like any kind of origin story or anything.
Right.
Because it's still built around this case or this kind of a mystery. But it's the Hollywood homicide thing. It's an actress is turned up murdered. Happens to be Blacksad's ex, so he has skin in the game.
And he's not actually on a case for it. It's just they called him in to identify her and whatever.
Yeah, he's a private detective. He's like an independent detective. They called him in, but then was like, "You stay away from this case.
But
he's not supposed to work it." But of course, he's going to. And eventually, he becomes the only one to work it because the cops get pulled off of it. Because of course, there's ties to someone higher up. I like Blacksad. I found that some of what I thought the first story set up, character-wise, didn't pan out like I might have expected. Because the spoilers, he ends up straight up murdering. He ends up straight up killing the guy responsible.
It's still murder, even if it's
murder. No, he kills him in cold blood. The guy doesn't have a weapon. He smirked though. I love that bit.
Yeah.
And it sets it up to where most stories, like I was expecting that the typical kind of letdown, although you shouldn't, I guess, advocate for whatever. It's whatever. Where you're like, oh, he's not going to shoot him. And then you flip the page, it's like, oh no, he's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it establishes that like Blacksad's not a bad dude, but he'll do what he needs to do.
Right.
Like he'll get revenge. And also like he's kind of a wreck. His office is a mess, and he talks about, how it's basically pretty good representation of his state. And I don't feel like the second two stories that we read, the 2 and 3, really play into that a whole lot.
Right.
Yeah.
They're a little more straightforward into the case, whereas this gives you a little more snapshot into him personally.
Yeah. So in that respect, I think I liked them all, but I think the first was my favorite, actually. I mean, I like the social commentary. They all kind of have it a little bit, but the other ones are the second one's definitely heavy social commentary, or not even commentary, just a story about these social issues, and it pulls no punches. And then the third one's very much about this point in time with the blacklist and stuff.
Yeah.
The first one feels a little bit more character driven. I think that's the kind of story I gravitate towards. The other ones there's good character interactions and stuff, but it is more plot, more about the case.
Yeah. I like the first one. Also, I don't know if I liked it the most, but the end was the part that made it the best to me. Yeah, because they play with the whole, well, you're not going to shoot me though because you're the good guy kind of a thing.
I will say, I think the second one, though, had some of the best lines, some of the best dialogue and moments that, I know I just said it's like, pulls no punches on like the racial aspect of the story, but it had a lot of funny moments to me.
Yeah. That
made me laugh out loud, so while I was reading it. I like his attitude. Like, Blacksad he has a good attitude through all of it.
Right.
Like, he's cool. It's just the second story is just like more just him being cool and dealing with the story.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like a little bonsai.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
I was going to reference Bonsai. I was like, I feel like Bonsai, give him a gun, and him and Blacksad might be on similar pages. Except he'd be like weakly, and he'd have too much spider buggy exhaust.
Yeah, and we'd be living in horror because he'd be like, "Feed me now!"
Oh yeah,
like with a gun to our head.
You want to be a spider buggy, Blacksad?
That's a deep cut, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't referenced the spider buggy in a while.
The second story was
Weird.
they mentioned the Arctic. Is that what was that supposed to be their name? Was that just alluding to like make everything white? Or
I think so.
Yeah.
Was that also the name of their group?
Well, you also think of like one of the characters is like an Arctic fox. You know, like a lot of the Arctic animals, they blend in with the surroundings of an Arctic, you know.
Yeah. And the polar bear guy was one of them.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, no, that one is straight up KKK and kind of neo-Nazis. Like they wear like when they first show up, and you're like, oh,
With
they're
that
wearing
one of the very first
Nazi.
pages, they've got a little bit of like graffiti on the wall, and it's Arctic Nation, and it's a snowflake. And I thought, holy cow, that's interesting.
When was this made? Because I kind of love that. I didn't even pick up on the snowflake thing. I wonder if that's
original
just a
cover to
happy
this
accident.
album as published in 2003, I guess.
Oh, okay.
It'd still be well before the snowflake thing.
Yeah, definitely. That's just a happy coincidence then.
Yeah.
I kind of love that. Like I said, in this case, it's pretty much the white people are the ones with the white fur. So I guess all the other ones are just the not. I don't know. They don't say pure, but not pure.
They have specific enemies, which are the black animals, like the crow
there's some black crows. Yeah.
Yeah, and a couple others. But I mean, in general, it's all of them are not white, you know, even though the ones they mostly war with are the black ones. And it's set in some like little like rundown suburban area that's dying and
Yeah, it's the whole like they started building this airplane plant or something like that.
it had been running, and then when the war ended, they closed it down so that nobody had any jobs. And
Yeah, and this is all like, in case we didn't mention it, this is all like period piece.
like the 40s, maybe.
Yeah,
It feels like this is definitely after World War II.
Yeah, and the third story has to do like that one. The rooster guy is definitely what's his name that did the. They had the trials,
McCarthyism, is that right?
Yeah. The third one is all about that.
Yeah. But really, it starts off about a missing child.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This story, it does. It starts off about a missing child, and it gets tied into local law, like what is he, the commissioner, police commissioner, or whatever, the local police commissioner. Jumping back for just a second to the first story, I like the German Shepherd cop, the commissioner buddy of Blacksad's.
Yeah.
He ends up being a cool character, and we've seen him just barely in the third one.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, so the local cops are corrupt. It's very much like the Southern KKK situation. Very much. Like some of the stories feature music, like the lyrics playing out. And this one has like a horrible song in it.
I think that's actually a real song.
It is. Like they even denote at the bottom what song it is. And it's a song about strange fruit hanging. And I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Well, and this polar bear guy, he's the police commissioner, right? Or the chief of police, something.
Yeah.
Well, he's got like a Confederate, like a saber from like the Civil War. He's got the Confederate flags hanging up in his office, that kind of stuff. So they're, I mean, like they're making direct references to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it handles that subject matter well. It's interesting, like applying it to animals. I guess it doesn't really change it much. It does add some interesting stuff, like the fact that Blacksad is a black cat, except he's got the white snout. And when dealing with both the white racist people and the black crows, he doesn't really get by with either of them because I guess he's slightly mixed.
Yeah.
But in both instances, his comments around his muzzle, I think, are great. The white animals start harassing him in this bar, him and his weasel reporter buddy. It wasn't a weasel, a ferret who stinks.
Weekly, yeah.
Yep.
He's like he's a reporter, but you get the sense that he's kind of a paparazzi style reporter, though.
Yeah,
a little sleazy, kind of. But he befriends Blacksad, which makes for a good, I think, character dynamic between the two.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're getting harassed, and he's like, a black cat, and he's like, well, my muzzle's white. or what's this getting me? Or something like that. Like he just has so good. But then when some black animals are like, I don't know why they're accosting people. They rob a store or something.
They come in. I think they want protection money or something, don't they?
Yeah, there's some type of deal, and Blacksad's having none of it. And the one guy's like gonna put oil or ink or something. Like he's got on his hands and he's about to touch his face, and he says, you put as much as a freckle on me, and I will end you. I just loved it. I was like, yeah, Blacksad don't mess around.
Yeah, it was fun.
He's kind of Shaft.
Yeah, he's super cool. Like he is. He's super cool. Even in the first story, he's still cool, but he gets the crap beat out of him a little bit.
Yeah, but that's rich people money buys you lots of strong people. But in this one, the whole story though, it's like this big weird twisted plan that's been going on for like a lifetime.
Basically, yeah.
And it's insane. It's insane that people would actually do that. It's almost like an afterthought, I feel like, of the story.
Oh, the actual plot of like what the big reveal kind of?
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's convoluted, but it's definitely like you're not going to guess it.
Yeah.
Because it's out of nowhere.
Yeah. Or at least the initial crime, maybe I should say. If not the plot, that whole crime story. It's like, oh, and to make all this happen, we had to kidnap this little girl.
Yeah, really, you're right. The plot itself is just kind of running into and examining like this little kind of racist organization and the impact on, and just how this rundown suburb is dealing with things. Like it's just kind of an examination of that, but with this kind of twisted plot, this twisted mystery kidnapping thing, just to kind of launch you into it. Yeah, you're right. It is kind of an afterthought because the big reveal happens after I was like, okay, well, this story's done. Then we get the reveal of like really who motivated it,
and it is all it's because of the racism, and it's all about revenge and whatnot.
I know we usually do spoilers, but I'm intentionally not saying what the deal is. I do have to say though, that one chick, she's pretty heartless.
Yeah,
I don't know what I can say without saying too much.
Her family getting her family all up involved in it.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
like pretty brutal. And it does not, I thought that was going to be the end of it. It does not end happy at all. I was a little thrown by it. It does have kind of an upbeat ending. Not for anyone involved other than Blacksad and Weekly. Like they end up with like, haha, kind of like, oh, we're off to drive to another whatever. They kind of have a funny moment at the end. But the little kid and just the whole thing is kind of sad,
Yeah. And I know we don't want to, we're trying not to super spoil, but I'm very confused about whether the polar bear knew who that was, because he couldn't be with her, but he was married to her. So I was like,
it seemed like he didn't. But if he didn't, like, would he really agree not to touch her ever? I
don't know. That's what has bothered, like, stuck with me. I'm like, I don't understand the nature of their relationship really.
And even if he was worried
even
if he was worried about the risk, like why, or about being, his first wife being exposed, why would you risk that though, knowing who she is? If he did know.
I don't know.
Must not have known, because I think
I can't see him. I can't see a character going for it, or a person just in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be like, okay, well, you know what? You're trying to hold some like blackmail over my head, but if they found out, this situation would be worse than the original blackmail. So
right.
I don't know. It was strange. Okay, just wondering. I like this one also, but I don't think it's my favorite.
Oh, so is the third one your favorite?
Maybe.
I think the third one is my favorite.
Interesting.
For a couple of different reasons, but.
Okay, well, you guys, tell us about the third one then, because I liked it. I say least favorite. I think 1 and 2 I liked a little bit more. So you guys go ahead and take this one.
All right. Go ahead, Jesse.
We're just gonna pass it down the line.
I was waiting for that. Okay, so the third one is called Red Soul, and it is it opens with Blacksad is. I don't know if the first two basically were kind of where he's from, but in this third one, he's kind of freelancing, like he's a bodyguard for this wealthy, like, high roller type of turtle guy. And so that takes him all over the place.
Yeah, he finds himself when we come to that story in Las Vegas because he made a promise to a character in the last story that he'd go to Las Vegas. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is,
that's right. Okay.
I think he lost a bunch of money too, because that's what happens when you go to Vegas.
Yeah, because he's not a bodyguard, but
Yeah.
he needed money, so he took that job.
Right. So he's some kind of personal assistant / bodyguard for this guy, and it puts him in position to come in contact with the German Shepherd character again. That kind of leads him into an opportunity to like reconnect with some characters from his past. In particular, this owl character, and I forget what his name is. Right, Otto Lieber, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
And this is a character that apparently was a teacher of Blacksad at one point in time, and really made an impact on John. Basically in that kind of mentor-mentee kind of thing. And I don't even know, it kind of seemed like it was implied like Blacksad didn't really make it through college, but he still...
No, he said he lasted like a year. He only made it a year or something. Yeah.
But at the same time, he still had like this connection with this teacher. And so kind of reconnects with him, but at the same time, it's like they go to basically a lecture that this character is giving, and he must be connected to the Communist Party in some way because, or at least he's seen that way. He's seen as a communist because there are picketers. They're protesting outside of the lecture, and we kind of get wrapped up into this whole. It's basically kind of a Red Scare type of story.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what there's a name. There's a distinct name for the real world equivalent to this. That time period where McCarthy was, there's the blacklist and they had the trials and they were...
The Bolsheviks. You might have Bolsheviks in your washroom.
Yeah, that whole thing. And Blacksad, through this owl guy, ends up like hanging out with this group of artists. There's a writer and just this kind of group of free thinkers and
academic types. I mean, really
socialists
embroiled in there. Yeah.
This one goes all political. It's interesting, like political, not political. I guess kind of political intrigue. This one definitely has the stakes at which Blacksad gets involved in it. Huge stakes, like dealing with the hydrogen bomb and stuff.
Oh yeah,
like that. It's pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, because he's like a scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on atomic energy or whatever is what the speech is, and he's supposed to played some part in developing this, and of course everybody's like, there's the people that are like, you helped them make this horrible bomb, and he's like, but this could be used for energy, this could be used for good. Like he's the owl guy is that kind of character,
Yeah. After they reconnect or whatever, they go off to a party with a group of people apparently that frequently are together that they call the 12 Apostles.
The 12 Apostles, yep.
And he's a scientist. There's maybe there's a couple other scientists, but the rest of them are like artists of varying natures.
He saves was the Dalmatian guy?
From drowning. Drunken. Yeah, the Dalmatian guy he does not like because he's like a mess. He's just, what is he? I guess he's just like a salesman. He's just kind of a big mouth, right?
Well, and not only that, he has Dalmatian qualities, in my opinion. Like he's nervous and, he's nervous and he's very like uppity, maybe. You know what I mean? Like he has to run around and like be scared of stuff. I don't know.
The Army McCarthy hearings.
What I was going to bring up was the other character that was mistaken for him. I think he was a turtle. Or was he another owl?
I think he was another owl.
Okay,
but he was wearing the professor's hat.
Yeah.
And he gets murdered.
By
this lizard guy. And of course, but he was really trying to go after the professor.
He wasn't a lizard baby. He was an alligator.
Oh, was he?
Yes.
Yeah, he was drawn with it's very like narrow, weird snout.
Yeah.
This murder attempt on his professor, and then also kind of getting involved with the writer woman is what pulls Blacksad into this whole mess.
Right. Ends
up being a deal where the plans for the bomb are going to gets sent to Russians, and their version of McCarthy is involved.
And they were like blackmailing him, trying to pin a murder on him that he didn't commit.
Yeah,
They tried to straight up blow him up.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't trying to blow him up, I don't think, but they were trying to blow up.
The alligator was going to blow up the professor.
Yeah, and he went to rescue him. But it's interesting to me that toward the end, that character that they're trying to murder has like an epiphany or something, and kind of a breakdown. It's connected to it, basically being like, my whole life was the opposite of what I wanted it to be. I wanted to be helping people, and instead I was hurting people. And every time I thought I was siding with the right side, it was the wrong side.
Yeah, because he had ties to the Nazis. Like, there's a picture of him with Hitler. What was the animal? Was Hitler? He was a dog or something.
Probably.
Yeah, so there is this whole thing. He was like an escaped
Nazi war
criminal. Yeah. But meanwhile, he was hanging out with the artist was like a concentration camp survivor.
Yeah.
Or something.
What?
He was hardcore
So-
too. He was like a Jackson Pollock / Picasso type of archetype, I guess.
Yeah.
And
and he was dying. He was coughing all the time. And
he was from Spain, I think, or either Spain or...
I think it was supposed to be like Picasso because he even wore the striped shirt.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And that's the one that they kill. And try to
Oh,
pin on.
Hitler was a cat.
Oh, a cat. Okay. Interesting.
Well, no, I can kind of see that.
That cats
'Cause,
can be
you know,
evil.
Yeah, they can be. And they're charismatic
Yeah.
in general. And that was, part of the reason that he became so powerful is because he
Did
was, I guess.
Mouse ever have a Hitler character?
I don't know.
I can't remember if they ever actually show Mouse or show Hitler in Mouse. I'm trying to remember what they named Hitler.
Because it was very much just that one man's
Yeah, it was more
view of it.
Yeah.
And he probably
Yeah.
wouldn't have been face to face with Hitler at any point.
No, yeah, you're right. The love interest thing.
Yeah.
I thought was interesting, and it's also kind of like
I didn't.
That part was
I
maybe the
didn't-
weakest part of the story for me. I mean,
Yeah, because nothing was going to come of that.
the flirtation was interesting, the setup
Mm-hmm.
was interesting, but it also just felt tacked on.
it was very obvious what they were doing, and I get I get the payoff, but no, you're right. It did feel tacked on because
Maybe it was. Maybe that was just in the American version because we have to have a...
Because we need one. Yeah, we got to have
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
there's got to be a love interest in this book somewhere.
Complete with the Niagara Falls angle. Because that's where
Yeah.
you go. That's your romantic getaway.
We need more cat breasts.
Yeah.
Our quotient hasn't been met.
Sexy, sexy cat boobs.
Well, if they had done it right, they would have had a whole couple extras right below that, but they didn't want to do it that way.
Yeah, no, they didn't go completely.
Anatomically, they're humans.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
they're human.
Because we see several naked they're mostly cat ladies.
Yeah,
It
they're
is
all
cat
cat
ladies.
ladies. Yeah,
The sexy ladies are usually cats.
Yeah.
at least his love interests are.
That's true. Interesting.
I wonder if they have other species Well, I guess, yeah, because that one wasn't the second lady, and the second one wasn't she like a cat or a dog, and then the guy was a polar bear?
Well, that was the marriage. Yeah, the marriage was.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I don't know how far we go into the resolution of this whole thing.
I think that was part of my favorite thing, though. Why I like this one so much, because it was like all like secret code type, not code even really, but plans to thwart this evil plan to save the world kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
I like that.
And it seemed very much like Blacksad did it. Like he thwarted this big plan that would have like global ramifications
By switching a sticker.
by switching a sticker, and like nobody knows.
Yeah.
Like, he
yeah.
didn't tell nobody. Nobody.
And that's the way it is, I was reading an article recently about the however many times the world was about to be destroyed by humans, and it wasn't, and we don't know anything about it.
This is like one dude somewhere did something. And,
Yeah, I told you about that one. The
around the Cuban Missile Crisis.
yeah, that one guy was like, "No, let's just wait. I bet it's not what we think it is."
And he saved us from unnecessarily going to war.
Uh-huh.
And nobody knew anything for like decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like this one, and it's I guess really what it comes down to for me in this third one is how he really writes and plays with characters and just flips your feelings about each character in unpredictable ways. Like you don't like, like that the Dalmatian character. You immediately dislike him and you don't know why, and you think maybe he's a bad guy and he's leading Otto, the professor. You feel like he's the shady character. He's the one doing these things behind the scenes, but he's not. He's actually just kind of a coward,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so like you have this feeling like, oh, he's the shady, he's bad guy. Nah, well, but he's not. he's just a guy, not a particularly brave individual, not, he's just kind of there, just living his life. Then you've got the professor who you kind of like immediately because John Blacksad likes him, I mean, you've got this really likable connection here, and then you find out all the terrible things he's done and is continuing to do, and you have to reconcile that a little bit. Like, the guy means well, but he has done some legitimately terrible, horrible things.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I felt like he wrote compelling, interesting, and very flawed characters. Even John Blacksad in the way that he makes the right choice, but he also could have made the choice in a way where he could have got everything he wanted, and he just decided not to.
What was the thing that held him back from being able to go meet?
He basically had to be detained to sell the whatever.
Yeah, he initially got arrested or whatever, picked up there. That's when they were framing him.
Mm-hmm.
He did that to protect Otto again, I think.
Apparently he was out of commission for 2 weeks or something, he says.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And couldn't get a hold of her. I can't remember her name, but the writer.
And how messed up is it that they just didn't check the expiration date on the stuff and kill people?
Right? That's the thing. That's the thing. Like, FBI agents killed that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tried to frame Blacksad.
Mm-hmm. I could totally see us doing that, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially back then.
Yeah.
Weren't they still doing the Tuskegee experiments and stuff? I want to say they were. We were knowingly letting people die, at least, if not actively killing them.
Mm-hmm.
So, there you go.
I liked all of them. I liked them for sure.
I liked all three of them. I liked the whole book. And I love the art.
I like the ferret character, and I like that he shows up in the third story, but not much.
Yeah.
Because they don't need him. He's there. Like, he has a couple scenes, and he's totally in character. It's humorous, but he's not shoehorned in. Like, he's not necessary to the plot. He's not all that involved.
He had a purpose.
Oh, he did. They stayed at his place, and
he gave him that stuff, and he's like, if anything happens to me, there you go.
Yeah.
Release that stuff. Which I imagine he's going to release anyway sometime.
Oh, yeah, that was that never really panned out. Oh, you're right, though. I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. He had the names of these high-up people.
That would be saved in the event of a nuclear...
That's it, yeah.
Catastrophe,
yeah.
But only ones on there were people that supported that senator.
Mm-hmm.
That guy was really cocky.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
Because he's a rooster.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk about the art.
Yes, do it. I'm not going to say anything other than I love it, because I'm not an art person, or not a real one.
Yeah, the art in this is amazing.
Yeah.
I think it looks fantastic constantly. It's so good.
I agree.
I think that's one of the other reasons that I like the third book so much, or the third chapter, is I love the way that they use warm and cool colors in the book. And in particular, there's a couple of panels, and I even put them on Instagram because I just couldn't wait. I love the way that he plays with like that sunset lighting when they're on the campus of the college, and the way that the light goes through the trees and is on the foliage. And I was like, holy cow. And there's a cat and an owl person in here. I mean, like, you take the cat and the owl person out of here, and this is just a beautiful little, I don't know, study, architectural study. I mean, I could see this in somebody's watercolor sketchbook.
I'm almost the opposite, because I am amazed by the city scenes where it's like there's just so much,
yeah.
there's so much going on all the time.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, that was my other part, was when Lieber is like wandering through the derelicts, like when he just escaped getting blown up and he's kind of having his little breakdown and he walks through, like where people are just like panhandling for money and hovered around like fires and in vacant buildings, old churches, that kind of thing. Like just the detail that goes into all that. You've got like people's wash hanging from building to building on these clotheslines, and those are just in the background. Like that is a detail. Like if I were drawing a panel, I wouldn't even put that in there. I wouldn't even bother with that, but it's there and it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, super detailed for sure. I mean, in that first story, the couple of shots we get in his office, or panels we get in his office, it's just cluttered with stuff. There's almost so much detail, it's overwhelming. It's like, whoa, what is all this mess?
He does that a lot too. Like he could just put a picture of Lieber with Hitler, but instead it's the top photo, but it's in a stack of photos. Like they really sell that they've got all sorts of information on this guy. And rather than just zoom in on one thing, they've got a whole pile of it. And he really does piles well.
And then also the character design. I mentioned it earlier, but I think the character design is very well done because, first off, like Blacksad and like the big characters look like they actually have mass. The proportions are always spot on, perfect. On everything. The art is always perfect. But like the animal heads work, even though it's so strange and there's just a ton of different animals. I don't want to say realistic, but it looks plausible. If you're going to have a
Yeah.
human animal, that's what it would look like.
They use the animal faces, I think, to help convey some of the emotion in ways that...
The expressions are great.
Yeah, they are. They're fantastic.
The facial expressions are Yeah, I agree. They're great. Yeah, you get a lot of angry characters. You get, there's some sad characters, but the expressions are always spot on. And even subtle stuff like Blacksad. He's got one of the more, well, maybe I'm not going to say basic type faces, but it's a cat face, so there's not a whole lot of line work and stuff, but it even sells his subtle like suspicious looks, or like oh really, like just the little eye emotes, like it works. And the color is, Jesse mentioned like the color, but the color is spot on. It's pretty good. There's one page in particular that really sells this little switch over from the end of at the end of the second story. There's like two panels up top, two panels on the top of the page where they're at the graveyard, and it's very kind of washed out and pale and dim. And then the bottom two panels are at the school, and it's super bright and super colorful. And like on one page right there, you get a nice juxtaposition of it. Yeah, where it's all snowy and just looks wet and cold and miserable. And then the next page, it's blue sky, and it's still snowy, but it looks crisp, like it would.
Yeah, and the reds pop, and
makes it seem clean.
I was thinking about a page where I think Blacksad's getting ready for the funeral, and it's just him putting on a tie, and you see the facial expressions. It's like he's just processing everything that's happened. And there's music, there's that song playing in the background, and then Weekly pops in, just like in the middle of it, and that look on Blacksad's face, like, of course Weekly's here, and why wouldn't he be? Like he's both. He's neither annoyed or amused. He's just like, okay, all right. And it's just an expression that's like, wow. I mean, you just conveyed that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just extremes. It's
like a
bemused, read a lot from their look,
like almost an apathetic bemusement. I don't know.
Which is great because the next page or whatever is when he finds out the like a reveal or type thing.
Yeah,
the big kind of twist.
And he Weekly hands in the paper, and he's like, "I'm afraid I won't be shocked." And then the next one is like wide eyes and like, oh, like he basically obviously is shocked. So
yeah.
No, this is great. I'm surprised I don't hear about this more.
Yeah, I really hadn't heard about it either.
I'm almost surprised this isn't a movie.
Right?
Let's do it.
Let's make it a movie. Let's just do that.
I mean, you could make it. Yeah, you could make a film noir movie out of this easy, and you wouldn't even have to. You wouldn't have to make them animals.
But you should.
You should, though. That would make it very. Oh man, that'd make for a really weird movie. Because like in the comics medium, like you're used to kind of that. You're like, okay, whatever. It's a serious, gritty detective noir story with anthropomorphic animals as the characters. Mouse kind of makes you ready for that. Once you get like one of the most celebrated graphic novels is anthropomorphic real life Holocaust story. You kind of accept a serious story like that, but in movies, like
there's not a lot of precedent for that. No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unless you count Fox and the Hound.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of movies where there's, back in the 80s, okay, when I was growing up, they weren't afraid to kill off some characters and make you cry.
Yeah,
it's true.
Well, like Bambi, page one.
Yeah, Bambi's mom. Yeah, or I guess those weren't cartoons, but Never-Ending Story
Oh yeah,
with the horse.
Oh,
that
was
that
awful.
was
Was it Atraxas?
something like that.
Atreyu,
Yeah.
Atreyu's horse.
But those are still kids' stories or stories for kids. They're just,
Oh, yeah, I
more
get you.
heavier than what most modern kid stories are.
Yeah.
This is kids would be bored by this.
Right. Well, they have. I don't know that they're serious, but like the heavy metal ones and
Well, and that's the other thing. When they do it, though, it's part of the whole thing is they're cartoon characters, but it's adult. And this is just an adult story
Yeah,
with animal characters.
yeah.
Like, it's not like a Sausage Party or something where it's like it's a CG animated movie, but it's naughty.
Oh, right.
This is a detective story. There's going to be a naked murdered woman on the first page, but they're animals. It doesn't
Yeah.
it's not exploitative.
It's more like
about it.
Animal
It's just
Farm.
like-
I mean,
yeah, it's just here's the thing. Here's the scenario. They're animals, but this is the story. It's
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so well done. I mean, I'm kind of on board with Dad's ultimate. This is just art.
Yeah.
Like you can call it a comic book if you want, but it's just straight up a beautiful work.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised. Yeah, I'm just really surprised. I don't hear this mentioned more. And maybe it's just I'm not keyed into the right circles. But
Well, some of the books that we have read and some of the books that I wanted to read, I had to search for to find out about too. It
That's
wasn't
true.
like just there for me to find out about it.
that's true. I mean, I guess it's hard to get past the big two and superheroes.
Yeah.
When Dark Horse is really good for that kind of stuff. I mean, like,
Yeah.
if you want to find something that probably wasn't on your radar, it's maybe coming out of Dark Horse or Image Comics,
Yeah, exactly.
because Image has kind of started to fill that role.
Yeah, a lot of what I've gotten into in my comic book time has been from Image, but there's some from Dark Horse too. Yeah,
I would recommend this.
to everyone.
It's good.
Well, maybe not children.
Not
but-
Yeah, I mean,
children.
it's an adult story. There's some violence. There's some
Yeah.
there's some cussing. I do appreciate that they did the whole racial thing and they don't pull punches, but also didn't feel the need to drop
The
N-bombs and stuff. They
Yeah.
didn't feel the need to drop racial slurs. They'll show you people hung and they'll show you animals in KKK outfits burning crosses, but they didn't need to drop the slurs. So
Yeah.
I did kind of appreciate that.
Yeah, I
And
would.
it's not even something I thought about while reading it. It's just sitting here talking about it, thinking about it. I was like, oh yeah, they didn't do that. That's
The only
kinda good.
caveat I would probably throw on recommending this to people is I would if people are reading things and they don't want to think about politics and they don't want to think about social issues, if you're going to read this book for escapism, then this is probably not what I would recommend. It's not a light, fluffy escapism piece. It's going to make you think. Like all
especially-
three of them did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
But I mean, it depends on how you want to escape. If you want to escape like James Bond style, this would still work.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
And I think the second one, you're right. They all three do. I think the second one is more tied into. I mean, it's the race thing. If you don't,
like
kind
feels.
of just only because we're dealing with race and
Well,
white
and-
supremacy
and
real
money.
bad right now.
Really?
The first one, I think, kind of had a big... Well, I guess the second one, too. But the first one definitely had, like, a corporate,
Right.
rich, powerful type thing.
Yeah,
It
so
was
that's
almost
something
your
those two seem
Weinstein
very...
kind of situation. Your Weinstein-style cover-up.
Yeah, exactly. The third one is, I mean, it's a political... The story is a political kind of intrigue type thing. But, and not to say it's not relevant, but it's so tied to the times that it just feels more like historical
Yeah.
politics. So...
Yeah. But it does make you consider the duality of man.
I will say I didn't have trouble following word balloons, but the little tiny squiggle line they used to attribute who's saying what, and it wasn't an issue most of the time, sometimes is almost unseeable.
They don't
Yeah.
do the black outline to the word bubbles. Like, they leave it lineless.
There'd be a couple times I'd read a panel and be like, wait, who's saying this? And then you just, oh, well, that's the characters closest to it, so it's them.
It seemed like it went more from left to right than up and down, like some of them do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which once I figured that out, then I didn't have any issues.
And there wasn't a lot of like issue with, because a lot of times my word balloon complaints are where there's word balloons all over and you can't tell which balloon you're supposed to go to from the last. And I didn't really have that issue. I just wasn't always sure who was saying it until I like really looked at it.
Yeah.
Well, like in particular with the second story, you have a lot of those pages where it happens at the graveyard, and it's like ink wash style, so it's a very subdued color palette, anyways. So that word balloon gets kind of lost in that, anyways. But the tail of that word balloon is like non-existent, yeah, because it just blends in with the snow.
Yeah, exactly. That's really my only complaint, and it's minor, and it will only come up a couple times that I even was like confused.
Are you haunted by shadow people in the middle of the night?
Do you secretly love all things creepy and spooky, enjoying ghost stories and horror fiction from the best storytellers?
Do you have a true ghost experience you want to share, but no one will believe you?
If yes, listen to the professionals on What Are You Afraid Of? Horror Paranormal Show Friday nights at 9 p.m. on Para X Radio and at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com.
What are you afraid of on Para X?
Our creepy and demented hosts are on call to provide you with all your spooky needs with true ghost stories, interviews, indie music, and new horror fiction. We are ready to scare you.
Para X.
Yes, I have no new letters. If you want to send us a letters, if you want to send us a letters,
Please
if you want to
do.
send us a letter, be a part of the show.
See, give us lovin's.
Letters at grawlixpodcast.com, or you can even call a phone number and leave a voice message, and we'll play it on the show. And here's Time Travel Randy to say what's up. Whoa, who turned out the lights? Where did I end up now? This stupid time traveling Blinkatron, I swear.
There's a Blinkatrons just going. It's okay.
Oh crap, shh. Just stay asleep. Okay. Alright, well, right place, wrong time. This is fine. I'll just leave him a note. There has to be some paper around here somewhere. Man, it's dark. Where's some paper? What's this? Puppets. Pokemon. Here we go, paper. Jesse, this is Randy. From in the future!
There's important donuts. There's just why would they do that? It's stupid.
Jesse, this is Randy. From in the future. Just leaving this note to remind you to let listeners know how they can send us their feedback for the letters page segment. Be sure to tell them they can send us an email to letters@grawlixpodcast.com. It's GRAWLIX podcast.com. And we'll read it on the show. If they'd like to hear their voice on the show, they can send us a voice recording or do it the old-fashioned way. Pick up a phone and leave us a voice message. The phone number to do that is 559-426-6427. That's 559-426-6427. Or an easier way to remember it is 559-4-COMICS. Tell them to try to keep it under 2 minutes, and remember we do a clean language show, regardless what the YouTube algorithm says. Thanks. All right, now just to leave this on his nightstand.
There's a spider buggy.
And with that taken care of, I can try to get back to episode 100.
There's too much exhaust.
Wait a minute. It occurs to me I have a unique opportunity here. That just might be too much magnificent manly beard for one podcast. There can only be one.
This is Melanie. With my brains and your looks, we could go Grawlix's.
This is Randy. How could I have known that murder could sometimes smell like Grawlix?
And this is Jesse. Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into Grawlix.
Thank you for listening to the Grawlix Podcast. The Grawlix Podcast is a production of the Electronic Media Collective and Vorpal Arrow Studios. For more Grawlix Podcast, visit grawlixpodcast.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/GrawlixPodcast, or follow us on Twitter at GrawlixPodcast. We're also everywhere. All the time. All at once. It was the bottom of the barrel, and I was scraping it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you're about as romantic as a pair of handcuffs.
I had a funny feeling as I saw the house disappear, as though I had written a poem, and it was very good, and I lost it and would never remember it again.
Those are harsh words to throw at a man, especially when he's walking out of your bedroom.
He was a guy who talked with commas, like a heavy novel, over the phone anyway.
What else is there to think about, except my job? My dirty job.
Oh my.
The coffee shop smell was strong enough to build a garage on.
Okay, how much did they give you? I'll top it. You can't top this. They said they'd let me breathe. You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? You just put your lips together and blow.
Oh, yeah.
Death's at the bottom of everything, Martins. Leave death to the professionals.
That's cemetery talk. What?
Wow, that's a great... God, see, I love those lines. They're like cheesy, but perfect. It's so good.
Yeah, there's so many of these. Life is a bucket of with barbed wire handle.
Wow.
I can't even say that one on this show.